Woman Trophy Kids presented by Bad News Media. It is the Super Bowl betting preview. As always, I am your host, Nate, with my co-host, Michael. How are we doing today, good sir?
I am great. How are you?
Doing good. It's the last one of the year. We've made it through, not gonna lie, not my favorite NFL season, but all NFL seasons are good NFL seasons. There's just slight variations to how good I would say.
Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't call it my favorite season. It was fun though. I loved it. I hope we get some better quarterback play, maybe better quarterback health next year. That would help the product on the field a lot. Maybe better officiating. Just some little things. Little things would help.
It would be great. We don't ask for much. Like the bar is so low. It's like, can we try? Health is, a random thing, but can we just try to have consistent officiating from crew to crew and not just be like, oh, this dude just calls 1,000 times more pass interferences than every other crew in the league. Let's give him a prime time game type of deal. Like, can we not just get a little consistency here? It'd
Yeah,
be
it's
nice.
it's like it's like the league trolls us because they know they can.
This is the abusive relationship we have signed up for, unfortunately.
Yes, it is.
As always, if you're new, we're gonna break down the game in its angles we think from there, and then we'll hop into the prop market because I do truly find one of the best things is the prop betting in the Super Bowl. It's hard to find a game edge, I feel like often, especially with this one. But before we hop in, because I think it was a little preview, any thoughts from the AFC Championship game? Like, I'm interested. Do you feel like those give any indication? Should those be used for this game? Or do you take that in that's a one game sample. Both these teams are 2 weeks out. You kind of throw that out the door, go from there.
I mostly kind of take it as a one game sample just because like the 2 weeks that these players are going through, they have the whole, the week leading up to the Super Bowl, like they're so busy, which is media stuff, obviously with practicing preparation. I almost think they kind of forget about what happened. I just think there's so much going on for them that I do kind of think it's kind of a one off. I mean, you could take maybe small things that you saw in that game and maybe apply them, if you saw like obviously San Fran, their secondary, obviously, but that's kind of been something that has been plaguing them all season long, but it wasn't great. So yeah, I think you could take little things like that to this game.
I would agree. I also walked away feeling I felt gutted for not really gutted because I do like the matchup we got. It would have been cool to see some new bloods. We're getting a repeat of a year ago. Kittle was right. He'll be back. And they're back. But I do feel I left leaving the Ravens game compared to the Lions game going, ooh, that was the big blown opportunity. Like that was your shot. Where the Lions, I walked away feeling like, all right, it's the NFC. You stay relatively healthy next year. You got most of your pieces coming back. You could have another crack at this. Where the Ravens, it's like you're in the brute AFC. Everybody's healthy, meaning somehow, and you've got a weakened Chiefs team, and your
Yeah.
brain farted.
And also comparing, what before I get there, but what would have been kind of cool though is if we literally bookend the season with Chiefs Lions, but we
Yep.
missed that anyways. But yeah, I am with you. I do think it's more of a loss there for the Ravens. The Lions, everything you said there. They're retaining their entire coaching staff. The Ravens staff is just getting picked apart. I mean, like they have no
Yeah.
they have no staff left. I remember they were I think it was the like 3 days after the season, the Ravens always have a State of the Union, and I think they reschedule it because I mean, they're like, what are we gonna talk about? We don't even know who our staff's gonna be. So that made me laugh. I was like, man, that sucks.
I agree. My final thought on that before we move to the actual game, I think Todd Munkin deserves a lot of blame. Should have listened to his wife. Just call the plays that work. He clearly didn't listen to her. But hardball, I feel like has gotten away somewhat. And don't get me wrong, folks. Like these guys know more football than
Oh,
we will ever hope to know. But like, I don't feel like hardball. I feel like he's gotten somewhat scathed away. At some point, as a head coach, you got to tell Munkin, stop throwing the damn ball and let's run it like it's working. And that just did not happen. Like, I feel like hardball dropped the ball just as much as the head coach as Munkin did.
there's too many times in the NFL where there are these head coaches who may necessarily aren't, offensive, minded guys, and they completely are hands off on their offense. And I'm just like, sometimes you got to step in and you just got to say, hey, let's run the ball, let's run the football.
Which is
I
so
don't. It
funny
drives
because
me crazy.
normally we're yelling at them to stop running so heavy and get a little bit more pass aggressive. And it was the complete opposite there.
Yeah, they needed a run.
Absolutely incredible. All right. But we got to get to the big shebang. It's Super Bowl week. We have a solid matchup, 49ers, Chiefs. The line's been dancing. It's doing the Macarena out there right now. It's sitting at 2 right now. It's been bouncing around. 49ers are the favorite. Over under is sitting at, that also has been dancing a little bit. Last I see, 47.5. Oof. Where shall we start? It is a matchup between two, I think, stylistically opposing coaches as far as how they run their organizations. Andy Reid's a little bit more hands off, allows his coordinators to have great influence throughout the organization. Kyle Shanahan is wound extremely tight and is involved a lot. You have a all-time great quarterback in Patrick Mahomes versus Mr. Irrelevant. We know that storyline. How do you see this one matching up? Where would you like to start?
Oh, yeah. It's fun matchup. One matchup, obviously, the most obvious glaring matchup is, Patrick Mahomes versus that San Fran secondary. Obviously he's going to be going up against a decent pass rush. If everyone's giving effort, there is one particular defensive end that my team got crushed for trading that it's showing no effort. Just note that.
If you didn't know any better, you would have no idea he's in a contract year. Zero clue.
It's unbelievable. It just going on a quick tangent. It's just like, does he care, or is he just happy? Like, I'll take 1 year, 8.5, prove it deal next year. Like, I almost wanted, like, I think maybe he hated getting injured so much, which I would too. I don't think he wants to ever have that happen to him again. That's just my personal thoughts. I don't want to harp on that for too long.
But some people are fine in the position they are and have no ambition on their climb up. We work
like he
business.
Feels he's already arrived. I don't know. It's strange. So yeah, I don't know what will happen there. But yeah, Mahomes versus that secondary. I just, yeah, it's so tough. I'm not giving away my play already, but it's tough to bet against Patty when he's got a situation like that. I think this is going to be obviously a heavy Kelsey game. Kelsey is just, I know fancy owners are irate right now because he's just turned it on out of nowhere.
Sandbagging at its finest.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love Kelsey in this game. I love Rashee Rice in this game. Obviously, I just think Mahomes is going to be able to pick that secondary apart, and then just the ferocity and the ferociousness that Isaiah Pacheco runs with. I just think this is going to be a good matchup. It's going to be fun. Yeah, that's kind of how I'm looking on that side of the ball, at least.
Yeah. Do you think, because I feel like that's a fair narrative. The Chiefs are going to find some. It's tough for me to gauge how much success is going to be here. I've been going back and forth, especially towards the total. I feel like the Chiefs, I mean, they have this phenomenal defense. It is by far the best defense Patrick Mahomes has had. Not that he's had bad defenses in Kansas City, but right now, number 2 in scoring differential this season. In the postseason, they are one of the best teams in the last 2 decades from a scoring percentage. Only about 28.5% of drives end up in a score against this Chiefs defense. How much faith do we have in Brock Purdy? Because there are takes all over the place. Some people think he's the second coming of Peyton Manning or something. Eli, I guess, would be the better comparison. And others think he's a certified bum who is just completely carried by this organization and team. Is there any middle ground, or does there even need to be a middle ground to have success in this game?
First of all, I don't think he's a stud, but I also think it's just unfair to say this guy's a bum. I don't think like, how can you say that? What he's doing, obviously, yeah, he has awesome playmakers. The playmaker, when it comes to playmakers in this game, obviously advantage San Francisco. It's not really even close in my opinion. But no, I'd say he's like a middle of the pack quarterback. He's a 12 to 16 ranked quarterback in the NFL, which is, when you have a really good team, good coaching, everything around you works out very well, you can win with that guy. So I think he's fully capable of winning a Super Bowl. No, I don't think he's a bum. I don't think he's a stud, but yeah, I think he is capable of winning this game. And I mean, as long as you keep the talent around him, I think he's going to have success throughout his entire career. I don't think he's going to carry teams. No way.
100% agree with that. It's Cam Newton is obviously making head waves. I heard that comment where he's like the 10th best player on the team. And I did the quick, like, back of the napkin type of math. I was like, yeah, that's probably about right. But honestly, that's more of a compliment with how loaded the talent positions are. When you think about just the top two, you have a Hall of Famer first ballot left tackle in Trent Williams, and you have Christian McCaffrey. I mean, the most dynamic player in football. You got Debo. Like, there is just Fred Warner, who's an alien, just out of this world linebacker. Like, I think probably half the league would be closer to 10 on this roster if you were naming off best players. That, like, I didn't take that as the wildest insult, but man, Cam comes off as a major hater at times.
Every single player you just named, and there's more. I mean, Bosa and Debo, Ayuk, Kittle, all of those players are better than every single player on the Washington Commanders roster, easily, 100%. All of them.
It's insane. Like
Yeah.
like it was meant to be an insult, but I was walking away like, honestly, to be 10th on that roster ain't that bad. That's like half the quarterbacks in this league would probably be right around there, if not worse.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, it's fine. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. The rest of it does come off a tad bit bitter. I think Cam has entered the time frame where he was like, God, I was so good for such a short period of time.
Yeah.
And just a little bit bitter because he was. I mean, to this day, I still say Cam Newton's the greatest college football player I've ever seen. And that peak with the Panthers, he did drag them to a Super Bowl.
He did. Absolutely.
um, I guess the better question here, too, is from a Chiefs defensive perspective. I assume Kyle Shanahan is not going to do what the Ravens did and just absolutely abandon the run because we saw in the Lions game, they're down big. They've got to come back. And he still was committed to, hey, we're not going to get out of what we want to try to do. We're going to continue to play our game. He's going to be run heavy. I would assume he's going to identify, let's maybe not run to the edges because that is where the Chiefs feast. Their DNs have great discipline for keeping their edges. What they rely on their slot corners and secondary to do come up and play physical downhill. They do great. So you got to run it inside. Ironically, you got to run it at Chris Jones, which is seems crazy, but you know, he's a better pass rusher than he is run defender. If they stay with that game plan, is there an opportunity that you see where the 49ers, and I'm sort of getting to this place. I'm trying to find a way to bet this game. Which team's going to get up first? If that is the game plan, do you think the 49ers can get up first and potentially win this first half because they can control the clock with the run game?
I think they can, but it's just a lot of things got to go, correct for that to happen where they're, sustaining long drives. It kind of brings me to, I don't know if we want to get into props, but just bringing up a long drive. I mean, one of the props I like, obviously odds are this is not going to happen, but longest drive of the game over 77.5 yards is plus 140. I can't say no to that. I could absolutely see that happen. You punt, I don't, off a kickoff or just, punt someone, touchback, balls on the 20. Yeah, I think I can totally see it happen.
Because my logic here is I've been trying to find a side and I've been struggling to bet a full game, number at 2, 49ers or Chiefs. And my working theory right now, tell me if this is crazy. Both these teams are going to have phenomenal game plans, but I almost trust a little bit more that the 49ers will get out to an earlier lead because they're going to have a very good early script. You're not requiring Brock to make a lot of adjustments at the line of scrimmage. You're just kind of running what you run. I do have faith Kyle Shanahan will be able to identify a lot of weaknesses, similar to Andy Reid. But then in the second half, I feel like the Chiefs are going to come storming back because you got Spags making the adjustments in game. That while Kyle Shanahan certainly can make the adjustments, I don't know if Brock can fully execute against a Chiefs defense that is changing scheme mid-game, making the changes at the line. Then you got Patrick Mahomes doing the opposite against that 49ers defense, which we know has been leaky, especially in the back end at times due to schemes. And I feel like then the Chiefs come storming back. So I'm almost thinking about going 49ers first half and then maybe a Chiefs second half or full game winner type of deal.
I don't hate that line of thinking. We've seen so many games where the Chiefs, they come out and you're just like, what is this team doing? And then they just figure everything out. Patty pulls something out of his ass in the second half. I don't hate that line of thinking at all. We've seen that happen so many times for Kansas City.
Yeah. And I do think, I mean, yeah, that's sort of where my line is thinking. I think we should have probably attack in one area that I would like to attack the prop marks. I got one bet that I think I'm feeling heavily, and it is that Kelsey kind of touchdown prop. I don't like first touchdown for games, but I'm also going to throw Justin Watson in there. He's plus 1,700, I believe, right now for first Chiefs touchdown. Kelsey's plus 330. I have them both paired. I bet both. I do think a tight end touchdown is going to happen first because I was looking for confirmation because I've been watching this tape and I've been like, all right, with Tooney out, which we didn't even talk about. We should probably talk about whether that's going to be significant or not. They've been running a lot more heavier sets. Obviously, Kelsey is going to be identified as a problem because they run this 3-man weave with Pacheco, Rice, and Travis, but they are currently throwing. I heard this from another podcast, so I'm not claiming this stat as mine, but in the first 3 quarters on early down throws, 42% of the share goes to tight end position. You get a little creative with Justin Watson down on the goal line or in the red zone, bada bing, bada boom, you're cashing a big ticket. So I like a Travis Kelce or Watson, both, either one, first touchdown scorer for the Chiefs, not game.
Right. All right. Yeah, I like that. One angle that I actually think is maybe not being talked about enough because it's not something we really like talking about too much when we think about football, but I think the kicking game could actually play a big role in this game. We're looking at a rookie kicker versus, I mean, a veteran kicker who knows nothing but big game kicking because that's all he's done in his career. I mean, Harrison Butker, from 40 to 49 yards, he's 7 for 7, 50 plus, he's 5 for 5, he's 33 for 35 on the season. He's the 4th kicker, number 4th ranked kicker in the NFL. You got Moody. I think he's the 20th kicker in the NFL. I think that, the kicking game could come into play. I bet it last year it happened. I always bet on the doink. The doink this year is plus 700. I don't think it was that juicy last year. So
I don't remember it being that juicy as well.
I thought it was 500 last year from what I recall.
We pulled the trigger on that.
Oh yeah, definitely you have to because it's just a fun one anyway. I mean, when you hear that doink, you just get so happy. But regardless, I actually think that the kicking game, I know it sounds funny, I think it could play a huge role in this game.
I'm glad you brought that up. I marked it down and I forgot to ask. How much faith do we truly have in Jake Moody? Because there's a real possibility this is a very close game. And if it comes down to kicking, I think it's pretty obvious who you want here. Special teams is a big part of this one.
Yeah, I completely agree. And yeah, definitely would be concerned about trotting Moody out there. He's from 40 plus. He is, let's do the math real quick. He is 6 for 9. 66%, not great.
Yep. Jake Moody could get a little moody, and you don't want that in your kicker. You need him ice cold.
Yes, you do.
I've got one. Pacheco, over 2.5 receiving yards. I've noticed this in the last couple, or not receiving yards, reception. Sorry, 2.5. I would have been like, pull money out of your 401k, folks. Lay that down today. 2.5 receptions. And the reason I'm playing that is I've noticed that the Kansas City Chiefs, I went back and I've watched their last 4 games. And I noticed that Pacheco, especially Pacheco, but all running backs, have done a really good job with the delayed hot route options. So they're hanging back, seeing if they need to pick up a late blitzer or help out alignment, and then they're bailing out. The 49ers DNs love to crash inside to try. They don't have as good of edge discipline as the Chiefs do. And Patrick Mahomes has had no problem checking down if it's not there this season. He knows that his pass catchers are not what they used to be. He isn't forcing it as much. He has no problem swinging it out to the check down guy, that other option for a running back. I like Pacheco over 2.5 receptions this season, just the way they've been schematically doing it. He bails out a ton because he hasn't needed to stay back in pass protection as much. I think that could potentially change with the Tooney injury, but they've done a decent job masking that, and he's still bailing out in that Ravens game, having those opportunities. I like over 2.5 receptions for Pacheco.
I like that too. This is one that's paying plus money. I'm kind of surprised just because there's so many opportunities for scorers on this one. Both teams to score just one rushing touchdown. Sitting at plus 125. I mean, you got to think McCaffrey is going to rush one in. If not, Debo will rush one in. And then you've got Mahomes, who is always running wild, especially when Mahomes is in like must-win games. That guy, he gets like 2 times faster. I don't know. It's very bizarre. So you got, Mahomes has the opportunity. Pacheco has the opportunity. I just think, that paying plus 125, I like it.
I agree. That's a great one. I'm gonna have to mark that one down. Kelsey over receptions. Here's how I play just all players. I just get them early in the week and then I keep looking at the lines because the public is gonna come. If you're a person who wants to bet a big time player, think, Debo, McCaffrey, Travis. I think the working theory for Super Bowls always, if you're thinking about taking the over, bet it early in the week. And then the public's gonna probably come in and push that number up higher. You can decide to bet it down and get yourself a nice middle ground there, or you can just stay away from it. If you want to bet an under, wait until closer to Sunday because I can already guarantee. I got the number at 6 right now. I can guarantee that's probably going to take off further. Like I said, it goes back to that number. 42% of pass attempts in the first 3 quarters on early downs are going to the tight end position right now. I think they're going to look to try to get Kelsey up and going early. I think the 2 weeks rest is huge for Kelsey. I think it's
Yeah.
been a little overblown, his age thing. It's certainly a factor. It's in honor of Toby Keith. What's the line? I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good as I'll ever need to be, or whatever it was. Sorry, I messed
Yeah.
that up.
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Sound.
You
Yep.
get where I'm
RP.
going, folks. I think this is where that plays. You got to get up for one game. You've had 2 weeks off now. You had a really tough schedule there towards the back end of the season. I think they're going to try to get him going early, similar to what they did in Baltimore. See what the 49ers are willing to do to address that problem. It's sort of like, are you going to be the defense that says, hey, we're going to isolate this guy. We're going to say you can't go to him. You got to beat us elsewhere. Or are we going to be able to get our matchups? They'll test him early. They'll give him chances to get the ball. I like over 6.5, I think, on that one.
I like that too. And I mean, this kind of pretty much goes exactly with, your thinking there. It's obviously it's low hanging fruit. It's the most obvious person to pick, but most receptions in the game, Travis Kelsey is plus 155. I mean,
Ooh, I like that.
he's by far, I mean, I know they've got great receiving threats over on the other side, but he's the best receiving threat on the entire field. He is. He's first ballot Hall of Famer. I like that. So I mean, I don't really like Rashee Rice is plus 200. I don't like him as the second one, but I say that and he'll probably win. But I wouldn't go with him. But Kelsey at plus 155. I just think that's so easy.
I agree. This is a random one, but I thought, maybe there's a shot here with the way the 49ers, or 49ers, the Chiefs play. Jair Brown, most tackles or assists, plus 1,700. He's coming down from the safety position. They have no problem playing him in the box, getting aggressive. He's going to be around the ball a lot. Like, there are other guys that are probably the better one. I'm looking at just value here, like a Fred Warner type of guy, probably going to lead the game in tackles most likely, but like trying to take a flyer, sprinkling a tiny bit. Brown's been playing fantastic of late. He's been around the ball a ton. The way these matchups work, I feel like he's going to just be naturally around the ball a lot here and have a decent shot at it. So with those odds and value, I just sprinkled a very tiny amount, but I was like, this is a random one. We're going to throw it out there. I don't know how confident I am in that it's going to hit, but I think it's those odds and the ability of where he plays. I think it's possible.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. This one's just kind of fun. You really kind of have to like kind of rack through your brain and think about everyone's jersey number. But first touchdown scored by a jersey number over 22 and a half or under 22 and a half.
Ooh,
There's so many, San Francisco has so many options for under.
yeah.
If you think about the receiver, at least, Debo and Ayuk, but then, McCaffrey's 23. And then, Kelsey, obviously. So I don't know which side I would pick. I kind of lean over, but that's just kind of just fun prop to look at.
I do like that. Speaking of Ayuk, I went under on his receptions. I don't know how much I love it, but my logic there is like I could see him breaking open a big play, so I didn't want to bet his receiving props, but I think they're just going to be so run heavy, and then it's going to be a lot of Debo, Kittle, making sure you're not putting, you know, Brock Purdy in tough situations. I do also think he's going to throw a pick, probably. Like there's going to be a pick in this game. So I also like Brock Purdy for at least one interception. We all saw that dumb play he had in the Lions game. We're doing right to the linebacker. What is going on here?
Play.
It was like JJ McCarthy in the opening series for the Rose Bowl against Alabama. I was like, what the hell is happening here, folks?
Yeah, that was terrible. Yeah, I do like that. I do think there will be an interception for sure.
Yeah, but I went under Brandon Ayuk receptions at 4.5. I just think the stylistic part of the game, he's going to be involved and he could break one really big. But I feel like he'll be less. There are going to be less opportunities for him to be as involved in this game. I think because he's more the deep threat guy anyway,
Yeah.
and I just don't think that's going to be the game plan that it's going to be a lot more short, more conservative run approach unless they get behind, and then this could all go to shit. So.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's about all I got for prop bets at this point. I'll probably do a Gatorade. I'm in a stupid state. God, what the we get legalized gambling. I can't bet on the national anthem or Gatorade color. Isn't this America, folks? Aren't we supposed to be free here?
It just makes no sense because I can bet on if there's going to be a doink. I can bet on which jersey number is going to score first. I can't bet on a color. Why not?
So true.
I don't get it.
It's so true. Any other bets before we give our final opinions on the game as a whole?
No, I'm ready to give my final opinion, I think.
What is the final opinion this year? Super Bowl 49ers Chiefs for you, good sir.
So I just think this Chiefs team, they're in my opinion, they are becoming, the new New England Patriots. I think I really do. I think this is what they're going to be. They're becoming a team that we as fans, they're reaching that point where we're actually starting to dislike them. That means that they are a good team. They've been good for a while. We kind of liked them in the beginning. Now we're getting tired of them. And unfortunately, I think Mahomes, I can't bet against the man. I think, I'm going to take them +2. I'm going to take them on the money line as well. I just think this is a dynasty. They're finding new ways to win games. It's not all about Mahomes just dominating. That's signs of just a dominant dynasty. That's what I think the Chiefs are, and I think they're going to continue.
That I'm glad you brought up that point because we're having the GOAT conversations, which at this point he's obviously earned to be in that conversation. But for me, it's always been, can you do it over a long period of time where you're going through multiple iterations of a team? Because that's what Tom Brady was the greatest at, is he sort of stayed even keel as the pieces around him changed and aged out, and he started playing with kids of players that he played against at the beginning of his career. And like, I'm not saying you got to play that long, but it's like, how do you adjust to the ever-changing environment, your changing roster? And he hasn't, like, it's not been great, but it's still been top of this world, clearly the best quarterback in the league. Fantastic. And when I say it hasn't been great, that is comparing it to the years previous for the Chiefs standards, not the league standard, folks. No. I don't need people coming from my throat on that. I am comparing it to the Chiefs standard of themselves, not the league.
Right.
So yeah, I agree. I agree. That's where my opinion, that's why I'm sort of locking in 49ers first half. I think they get out early, but then the Chiefs machine starts to take over here. The experience, Patrick Mahomes getting out there, making plays, the adjustments to the adjustments. I just have so much more faith, and I really do not have a lot of faith in Wilks' ability as a defensive coordinator right now for the 49ers to make the in-game adjustments that are going to be needed to contain Patty Mahomes. That's where I'm at with this one as well. But I also wouldn't be surprised if the 49ers win. That's why I'm not rushing the window to bet either one of these as I'm like much more interested in the prop market this year. I do not have as strong of a feeling on a team this year.
I am with you on that. I do think the 49ers are probably, top to bottom are the more talented team, but just the Chiefs are they're a group of winners. That's what they are.
It also hurts that, like, outside of Trent Williams, it's just 4 guys trying to hold it together. Like, they're doing their best impersonation of offensive linemen of the 49ers offensive line room outside of Trent Williams. That hurts. I know Cooney is a problem, but like, that gives me a little bit of nervousness because the vast majority of the 49ers runs this season, outside zone runs. What do you have to do against the Chiefs? You have to run it inside. You cannot try to play on the edges. They are going to eat you alive, as the Ravens found out last game, not last season. Yep. All right. Any final thoughts before we break for the last show of the year?
No final thoughts on this game. I do have 2 random things that I heard that I just want to bring up. So 58 total Super Bowls, but this kind of surprised me. There's only been 65 total coaches. Shows a lot of coaches have been going back to the Super Bowl. That's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Wild. Another thing I heard blew my mind. With the exception of Ben Johnson, no team has the same offensive coordinator from the start of 2022 NFL season. That blew my mind.
That is crazy.
I was looking it up. I was like, there's just no way. That position constantly is getting thrown around, promoted to head coach. No team other than outside Ben Johnson.
This supports my theory of why defensive coaches are going to have it harder and harder as we move forward to get head coaching jobs, because you're always having to replace your OC. Like, you'd rather just get the head coach that knows
exactly.
and
Yep,
defense. Like it's just going to be impossible. That's
it will
crazy.
be. Yeah, it blew my
My
mind.
fun facts, 10 of the day. My final thought, because CBS has this game, so we unfortunately are going to have to
Mm,
hear Tony Romo. Can we
yikes.
please make the trade for Romo for Greg Olson? Because he's clearly not going to beat out Tom Brady if he heads over to Fox. And Greg Olson's the odd man out at Fox. Make the switch, please, for the love of God.
I mean, it's
Do it.
so what's happening to Greg Olson is honestly incredibly unfair because he is awesome at his job. Tony Romo is no longer prepared.
No,
He doesn't care about it anymore.
it's
So
bad.
yeah, we need to do something about it. And also just because Jim Nance he's a national treasure. He's awesome. He is a great play-by-play guy. He deserves to be better with a,
Yes.
deserves to be next to someone better than Tony Romo. I have heard rumors though that this might be Nance's last game.
Ooh, I'd be
Would
interested.
be awful. That would be
Yeah,
awful.
that would
But
be tough. The
hopefully it's not
perfect
true.
Romoism was last week in the Ravens game where I forget what happened. The Chiefs kicked a field goal or something. I think it was the Ravens game. And Romo goes, "That's the game, folks, but they may still come back." What?
Yeah, he's just
It's
not
like
very
there's
good.
plenty of time for them to come back, but that's the game, folks. What are you talking about?
He's awful.
I'm
He's just not good at his job.
flipping. It was the perfect Romo verbiage or whatever. I don't know. Now I'm
Romoism.
Yeah,
Romoism.
Romanism. My other thought too, I was thinking because I see this replay every time this year, and I think, damn, I love iPhones, probably a top 5 human technology of all time,
Oh yeah.
but it really does take away from the flashes in the crowds for the opening kick, and it's the Devin Hester kick return opening with all the like it just elevated. That moment was awesome to begin with because you have an opening kick return on the Super Bowl, but the lights flashing in the background, it just gave the games bigger gravitas.
He led the NFC in both kickoff returns and punt returns. And the Colts have had a hard time all season covering kicks. It's Hester trying to work it back to the middle. Gets past the first wave, and here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. And no flag, 92 yards.
I agree. I'm with you. They should start pumping in just fake flashes if they can.
That would be awesome. I agree.
Yeah. We've got the technology.
Yeah, if you have an ability to bet the over on the national anthem, hit that over, crush it. I want to say like the last like I think there's only been like 2 in the last 12 attempts or whatever have gone under 90 seconds. Like Reba's going over. All right, folks.
Yeah. She's gonna get her money's worth.
Yeah, it's her moment to shine. All right, well that'll do it, folks. As always, peace.